I always believed I had the perfect life, a loving wife, a stable job, a home I had worked my ass off to build. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable, content, or so I thought. That illusion shattered on an unassuming Thursday afternoon. I had planned to stay late at work that day, but fate had other plans. My boss let us out early, a rare treat, encouraging us to spend the rest of the day unwinding with family. I smiled at the thought of surprising Ashley. Maybe we could grab dinner, take a walk, reconnect like we used to. The drive home was peaceful, the sun casting golden hues over the neighborhood. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something odd. A sleek, black Mercedes parked a few houses down. It wasn't a neighbor's car. The thing looked like it belonged to some Wall Street executive, not anyone from our modest suburb. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe a visitor. A lost Uber driver. I had bigger things to focus on, like surprising my wife. I stepped inside. Silence. The TV was off. No music. No true crime podcast playing in the background like usual. A strange stillness hung in the air. My gut tightened, but I ignored it. Maybe she was napping. I set my keys down, removed my jacket, and headed upstairs. Then I heard it. A low, breathy moan, followed by a deep, masculine chuckle. I froze. The kind of freeze where your brain refuses to catch up with your ears. Maybe I misheard. Maybe she was watching a movie. Maybe. Sheets rustling. A whisper. God, I wish we had more time. And just like that, my world collapsed. I didn't knock. I didn't hesitate. I shoved the door open. There they were. Ashley, my wife of 6 years, tangled in the sheets with another man. And not just any man. Nathan Mercer, big shot investor. His face was plastered all over the business news. A man with money, power, and apparently, a taste for married women. Ashley wasn't in pajamas. She wasn't lounging in one of my old college t-shirts like she usually did. No, she was wrapped in red lace lingerie. Lingerie I had never seen before. Lingerie that I had bought. Not for me. For a long moment, none of us moved. Time stretched, thick and suffocating. Ashley's eyes widened in panic. She scrambled to grab the sheets, her face draining of color. Nathan, on the other hand, had the audacity to look annoyed, like I was the one intruding. Honey, I can explain, Ashley stammered, voice breaking. Explain? Explain what? That this was some kind of misunderstanding? That she had tripped and landed on a millionaire's dick? Nathan sat up, reaching for his pants with casual indifference. Look, man, let's be adults about this. Adults? I clenched my fists so hard my knuckles cracked. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to punch him, to rip that fancy watch off his wrist and shove it down his throat, to tear the whole damn room apart. But I didn't. Instead, I laughed. A cold, humorless laugh that made both of them flinch. Oh, this is rich. Real rich. Ashley looked like she was about to cry. Please, just let me explain. I stepped back, taking in the scene one last time. My wife, tangled in sheets, wearing lingerie she had bought for another man. Nathan, hurriedly pulling on his tailored pants like a thief caught in the act. The room smelled of expensive cologne and musk. A bottle of wine sat open on the nightstand. 2 glasses. A flickering candle near the dresser, casting a soft glow on their betrayal. How romantic. Ashley sniffled. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I let out another laugh. Oh yeah? How was it supposed to be, Ashley? A quickie before I got home. Then dinner with me like nothing happened. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, gripping the sheets like they could somehow shield her from this moment. Nathan, now fully dressed, adjusted his cufflinks. Look, let's just be rational. No need to blow this out of proportion. Rational? Out of proportion? This pompous bastard had just detonated my marriage and wanted me to be rational? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Get out. He met my gaze, unreadable. I was just leaving. I stepped aside, giving him just enough space to pass. He walked out, cologne lingering in his wake. The sound of his footsteps echoed down the hall. The front door clicked shut. Ashley let out a breath, hands trembling. Please, can we talk? Talk. About what? How long this had been going on? How many times had she kissed me goodbye and then crawled into bed with him? I turned on my heel and walked out, ignoring Ashley's desperate calls behind me. I wasn't running away. No, this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of a war. I don't remember walking down the stairs. I don't remember stepping outside. But suddenly, I was gripping the porch railing so hard my fingers went numb. My heart pounded, My ears rang, and white-hot fury boiled in my veins. I wanted to turn back. I wanted to drag Nathan Mercer onto the front lawn and beat him until he forgot his own name. I wanted to scream at Ashley until she felt even a fraction of the betrayal ripping through me. But instead, I laughed. A deep, bitter laugh that clawed its way out of my throat, hollow and unhinged. The door creaked open behind me. "Please, talk to me." Ashley's voice wavered. I turned slowly, meeting her tear-streaked face. "Talk? Oh, sweetheart, I think we're past that, don't you?" Her bottom lip trembled. I made a mistake." I raised an eyebrow. "A mistake?" She nodded frantically, stepping toward me like she could just erase everything. "I swear, it didn't mean anything. I got caught up in something stupid and—" I held up a hand, silencing her. "Ashley, you don't trip and fall onto another man's dick. That's not how mistakes work." She flinched, a sob escaping her lips. "Please, I still love you." That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. My hands trembled. My body vibrated with the need to destroy something. Anything. I grabbed the potted plant by the door, the one Ashley had picked out from some overpriced home decor site, and hurled it onto the pavement. It shattered into 100 pieces, soil spilling across the concrete. Ashley gasped, stepping back. "Ethan." I turned to face her fully, my breath coming in ragged bursts. "How long?" She swallowed hard, her eyes darting away. It wasn't. "How long?" I warned, my voice sharper than a blade. Tears streamed down her face. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. I had been sharing my home, my bed, my life with a woman who had been sneaking around behind my back for 6 goddamn months. My fists clenched, nails digging into my palms. "Did you ever even love me?" My voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 betrayals. Ashley let out a broken sob. "Of course I did. I do. It just happened." I shook my head, my laugh cold and hollow. "No. See, things don't just happen, Ashley." She flinched. "You made choices. Over and over again. You lied to my face. You let me hold you at night, kiss you, tell you I loved you, all while you were screwing some rich asshole behind my back." She sobbed harder, covering her face with trembling hands. "I didn't want to hurt you." A sharp, venomous laugh escaped me. "Well, congratulations. You failed." Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. And then I saw it, the sleek black Mercedes pulling away from the curb. Nathan Mercer was running. Like a coward. Like a man who had just blown up someone else's life and couldn't be bothered to deal with the fallout. I turned back to Ashley, my voice eerily calm. "Pack a bag." She blinked. What?" "You heard me," I said, stepping closer. "Get your shit and get out." Her hands clenched into fists. "But this is our home." "No," I cut in. "This was our home. Now it's just mine." Her eyes flashed with something. Defiance, desperation. Maybe both. "You can't just kick me out." I tilted my head, a cold smirk curling my lips. "Watch me." She stood there, frozen, like she was waiting for me to take it back. But I wouldn't. I couldn't. Every second she remained in front of me felt like another knife twisting in my gut. Finally, she let out a shaky breath and turned toward the house. I followed her inside, watching as she grabbed a duffel bag and started stuffing clothes into it. She was still crying, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, just a burning rage that refused to die. When she was done, she turned to me one last time, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where am I supposed to go?" I shrugged. "Not my problem." Her face crumpled, and she walked past me, bag slung over her shoulder. The front door opened, then clicked shut. And just like that, she was gone. The silence of an empty house can be deafening. After Ashley left, I stood in the middle of, my living room, staring at the walls as if they held the answers. The rage inside me hadn't subsided. If anything, it had sharpened into something cold, something calculating. This wasn't over. Nathan Mercer thought he could waltz into my life and take what was mine. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I needed to know everything. How long had she been lying to me? Was Nathan the only one? How deep did this betrayal go? I had spent years thinking I had the perfect wife, the perfect marriage. Now, I wasn't going to stop until I uncovered every single disgusting truth she had hidden from me. I started with her laptop. Ashley was predictable. She used the same password for everything, our anniversary date. I typed it in, and just like that, Her world was laid bare before me. Emails, messages, social media accounts. I sifted through them, my heart hammering in my chest, my stomach twisting with every click. And then I found it. An email thread with a subject line that made my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you again. It wasn't just Nathan. There had been others. A lot of them. My fingers tightened into fists as I scrolled through the conversations. Names I didn't recognize. Messages that left no room for misinterpretation. Hotel reservations. Excuses she had fed me about work trips and girls' nights out. Pictures of her in lingerie I had never seen her wear for me. Posing in hotel rooms I had never been in. I wanted to punch a hole through the screen. Instead, I grabbed my phone. First, I called Lisa, Ashley's best friend. Lisa hesitated at first, but when I told her what I had found, the floodgates opened. "Ethan, I wanted to tell you so many times," she whispered. But I was scared. Scared of what? My voice was ice. "Ashley, she's been doing this for years." Years. The word hit me like a sledgehammer. "How long?" I forced myself to ask. Lisa sighed heavily. "I don't know exactly, but at least 3 years. Maybe more. 3 years. 3 years of lying. 3 years of sneaking around. 3 years of playing the role of a devoted wife while she lived a double life." "Did you know about Mercer?" I asked. Lisa hesitated. I had my suspicions, but Ashley kept things quiet. She was careful, until she wasn't. I ended the call without another word. For hours, I dug deeper, collecting evidence. Bank statements showing expensive gifts I never received. Credit card charges at 5-star hotels and exclusive restaurants I had never been to. Every discovery felt like another dagger to the gut. By the time I was done, I had a folder filled with screenshots, emails, bank transactions, and pictures. Proof of her lies. Proof of her betrayal. And I wasn't the only one who needed to see it. First, I sent the emails to her parents. Her mother called me within minutes, her voice frantic. "Ethan, what is this? This can't be real." "Oh, it's real," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "Your daughter has been cheating on me for years. Thought you should know." Her father took the phone next. "Son, listen. No, I cut him off. "I'm done listening. You raised a liar. A cheater. She can explain herself to you, but I'm done." Next, I sent everything to her work email. Ashley had a cushy job at an upscale firm. A job where reputation mattered. I knew her boss. Knew he was old-fashioned. The email subject line was simple. "Thought you should be aware." And then, I made one final call. To Nathan Mercer's wife. Yes, Nathan was married. I found her number in his messages. Her name was Julia. She answered on the second ring. "Hello." I took a breath. "Julia, you don't know me, but my name is Ethan. I need to tell you something about your husband." She listened in silence as I laid it all out. The affair. The hotel rooms. The messages. At first, she didn't say a word. Then I heard her take a deep, shaky breath. "Thank you," she whispered. She hung up, and I smiled. Because I knew Mercer's life was about to implode, just like mine had. The next day, Ashley called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then another, and another. Finally, I picked up. Her voice was frantic. "Ethan, what the hell did you do? My parents won't speak to me. My boss fired me. And Mercer's wife." "Oh," I interrupted, my voice laced with mock sympathy. "I take it Julia wasn't too happy to find out her husband's been screwing you." "Ethan, please," she sobbed. "You don't understand." "No, Ashley," I said coldly. "I understand perfectly." She thought she could do whatever she wanted. Lie, cheat, betray me, and still walk away clean. But actions have consequences. And now? She was finally facing hers. She kept crying, kept begging. But I just listened, letting her desperation wash over me like a cleansing fire. When she finally stopped, I said the last words I would ever say to her. "Goodbye, Ashley." Then I hung up. And for the first time in years, I felt lighter. But I wasn't done yet. Nathan Mercer thought he could steal from me and get away with it. He was about to find out just how wrong he was. I didn't just want Ashley to suffer. I wanted her entire world to crumble. She had stolen years of my life, my trust, my dignity. Now, I was going to take everything from her. I started with Nathan. Exposing him to Julia wasn't enough. Mercer was a businessman, a public figure with a carefully curated image. An image I was about to shatter. I compiled all the evidence, the hotel receipts, the explicit texts, the pictures Ashley had sent him, and delivered it all to his board of directors. Nathan had built his company on the illusion of integrity, of being a family man. That illusion shattered the moment the scandal hit. His business partners turned on him. Investors pulled out. Within days, his company's stock was in freefall. His name became poison. And just to twist the knife, I leaked the information to the local press. They devoured it. Headlines exploded everywhere. Business tycoon caught in cheating scandal. Secret affairs exposed. From power to ruin. The fall of Nathan Mercer. Nathan Mercer was no longer a powerful, untouchable figure. He was a joke. And worse, he was alone. Julia had already packed up and left with the kids. His home was empty. His career was in ruins. He went from wealth and influence to fighting lawsuits and clawing to stay afloat. But that was just the beginning. Then there was Ashley. Losing her job was only the start. Her reputation was in tatters. No high-end firm wanted to be associated with a scandal-ridden, unfaithful employee. She sent me text after text, pleading for mercy. I ignored her. Then I went after her finances. I had already filed for divorce, and with all the evidence I had, there was no way she was walking away with a single dime. My lawyer tore her apart in court. The judge granted me everything. The house, the car, the savings. Ashley was left with nothing. She tried to fight, but the evidence of her affairs made her look pathetic. She had no leg to stand on. And once the divorce was finalized, I made one last move. I sent everything, every disgusting message, every shady bank transaction, to her landlord. The lease was in my name. She had no right to stay. Within a week, she was evicted. I heard through mutual friends that she ended up in a dingy studio apartment across town. No luxury, no security, just four walls and the bitter taste of karma. The job market wasn't kind to someone with her reputation. She went from high-end offices to waiting tables at a rundown diner just to survive. One night, I stopped by that diner. She was there. Her once perfect hair was tied back in a sloppy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. She looked exhausted, worn down, a shadow of the woman who once flaunted her lavish lifestyle while laughing behind my back. I took a seat at the counter. She hadn't seen me yet. When she finally did, her eyes widened in horror. "Ethan," she breathed, barely above a whisper. I smiled. "Hey, Ash. Busy night." She swallowed hard, gripping the tray in her hands. Shame, anger, desperation. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Oh, just passing through," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. "Wanted to see how you were doing. You know, after everything." Her lips trembled. "You ruined my life." I let out a slow chuckle. "No, Ashley. You ruined your life. I just made sure you paid for it." Tears welled in her eyes. "I loved you." I tilted my head. "No, you loved the comfort I provided. You loved that I was too blind to see the truth. But love? No, Ashley. You don't destroy someone you love." She looked away, blinking rapidly. "I don't know how to fix this," she whispered. I sighed. "That's the thing, Ash. You can't. There's no fixing what you did. There's just living with it." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Instead, she turned on her heel and disappeared into the back of the kitchen. I left a generous tip, just to remind her of what she had lost. As for Nathan, he didn't fare much better. His wife took him to court and drained him for everything he had. She got the house, the cars, the assets. He was left with legal fees, a collapsing business, and a destroyed reputation. I ran into him once after it all came crashing down. He looked like a shell of the arrogant man I had walked in on that day. "You," he spat, rage and humiliation burning in his eyes. I just smiled. "Actions have consequences, Mercer." His fist clenched, jaw tight with fury, but he knew there was nothing he could do. I had already won. Ashley tried calling me one last time after everything was said and done. I let it ring, watching her name flash across my screen. Then, without a second thought, I blocked her number. And just like that, I was free. I had burned every bridge between us, salted the earth so nothing could ever grow back. Freedom, though, came with a strange emptiness. I had spent so long consumed by revenge that, for the first time in years, I had no idea what came next. So I started living. I threw myself into work, hit the gym, reconnected with old friends I had neglected. It was like waking up from a long, exhausting dream and finally breathing fresh air. And the best part? I was genuinely happy. Ashley, on the other hand, was drowning. Her once perfect life had crumbled into a miserable existence. The high-end lifestyle? Gone. The fancy brunches, designer clothes, expensive vacations, all replaced with long, grueling shifts at the greasy diner she now called her workplace. She wasn't living anymore. She was just surviving. I kept hearing whispers from mutual acquaintances, the same people who once envied what they thought was our perfect love story. They told me how she was struggling to make rent, how she had to sell her designer handbags just to keep the lights on. Her car? Repossessed. Her credit? Ruined. The woman who once prided herself on status and luxury was now scraping by, picking up extra shifts just to afford the basics. And Nathan? He was long gone. The moment his own world crumbled, he abandoned her without a second thought. He wasn't about to let dead weight drag him down. She had gambled everything on him, and in the end, he discarded her like yesterday's trash. Then, one day, I saw her again. I was grabbing coffee at a local shop when I spotted her in the corner, hunched over a cup of tea as if searching for answers in its steam. She looked hollow. The confidence, the arrogance, everything that once defined her, was gone. Her once flawless makeup was absent. Her carefully maintained hair, now limp and lifeless. Even her nails, always perfectly manicured, were bare. She looked older than she should have, worn down by the weight of her own choices. She noticed me, and immediately looked away. I wasn't going to let her escape that easily. I walked over and sat across from her. "Long time no see, Ash." Her fingers tightened around her cup. "Ethan," she mumbled. Up close, I could see just how much she had changed. "You look like hell," I said casually, taking a sip of my coffee. Her eyes flickered, resentment, regret, something in between. "What do you want?" she whispered. I smirked. "Nothing, actually. Just thought I'd check in. See how you're holding up after." I gestured vaguely. "After you set your entire life on fire." She let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah, guess I deserve that." I leaned forward, my voice dropping lower. "Tell me something, Ash. Was it worth it?" She swallowed hard. "No." I tilted my head. "No." Her voice was barely above a whisper. I thought I could have it all. The excitement, the luxury, the thrill. I thought it would make me feel alive." She exhaled shakily. "But all I did was destroy the one person who ever really cared about me." For the first time, I saw something real in her eyes. Not just regret for getting caught. Regret for losing what we had. I could have torn into her, reminded her of every lie, every betrayal. But I didn't. Because, in the end, she had already lost everything. I stood up, looking down at the woman I once believed I would grow old with. "Goodbye, Ashley." She didn't stop me, didn't call after me. She just sat there, staring at her tea, alone in the wreckage of the life she had built with her own selfish choices. Weeks passed, then months. I moved on. For real this time. I met new people, started dating again, found joy in the simple things I had once taken for granted. And one evening, standing on my balcony and watching the city lights flicker in the distance, I felt something I hadn't in years. Peace. But Ashley's suffering didn't end there. I later heard she lost her apartment, unable to keep up with rent. She moved in with a friend, but that arrangement didn't last long. Nobody wants to share space with someone drowning in drama and regret. Eventually, she had no choice but to return to her hometown, to the same parents she once bragged about being too good for. Mutual acquaintances told me she was barely scraping by, working 2 jobs just to survive. The people who once admired her wanted nothing to do with her. She wasn't the glamorous, put-together woman they used to envy. She was a cautionary tale. And Nathan? He didn't fare much better. His wife gutted him in the divorce, leaving him with nothing. His business? Ruined. His name? Synonymous with scandal. No one wanted to be associated with a man who had built his empire on deceit. He packed up and moved away, desperate for a fresh start in another state. But some stains don't wash out. Then, one day, I got a message. An unknown number. "Ashley. Ethan, I know I don't deserve this, but can we talk? Just once." I stared at the message for a long time. The last remnant of my past, reaching out with one final plea. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. I was finally free, and I was never looking back.